Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. And I've been thinking about some words that we need to retire because the world is moving so fast. Even if I say that's so 2023, it seems like a lifetime ago. And a couple of those words, Webster's, that came up with the idea in 2023 that authentic was the word of the year. And that's one of those words we need to retire because it's so 2023. It might come back at again. You know how things always come back. But here's the thing. Authentic, I'm ready to retire. And another word, because I'll talk about authentic in another conversation. But today I want to talk about retiring this so 2023 word, resilience, because it's tired. It's tired. It's not wrong. It's just not completely explaining what actually is happening, especially on the planet right now. It is so insufficient. And so we're going to talk about resilience and how it is not really what we're doing. And we need to retire it because it's had its moment. And so did authentic. And authentic has just devolved into this crazy word that people say, especially from a marketing perspective. And I will talk about that probably sometime next week on a podcast. Today, let's talk about resilience because it seriously needs an upgrade. And if you think about it, because people have written books on it and I've read some of them, and at the time, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it might have resonated. But here's what I perceive resilience now at this point is holding it all together, pushing through, bouncing back, or smiling politely while your insides are still on fire. Those are all masculine energies, holding it together, pushing through, bouncing back, smiling politely while your insides are on fire. It's not who we are in this feminine energy that is rising on the planet. And that's certainly not what most of us have lived through. It's so important to be able to name what this transformation is that's happening on the planet. And I know because I interview women all the time for this podcast. So many of us have survived so many things that really they just don't hurt us. They change us in a way. So resilience is just getting through it. This transformation, this change is what is the beautiful, beautiful thing that's happening on the planet right now. And it feels like chaos. I'll give you that. There is so much craziness going on out there. And here's the thing is I'm here for it because I also know that the chaos has to come before the new birth. Labor is not fun. Ask any woman that's been through it. It's a dramatic process, and birthing something never comes with a walking into that still dark night. It's really so amazing. And the difference between surviving something. So like you can survive. I often hear because I've thrived after cancer, you're a cancer survivor. Survive anything. I was alive. I still am alive. I've thrived through it because thriving is what we all are seeking in truth from our soul level. So, whatever it is that you're going through, being altered by it is what's really the conversation that I want to have today. And I want to talk about these words that live after this idea of resilience. Resilience is just powering through it. These words don't say, I endured, but they say, I was broken open and something else emerged. I know that the old butterfly example is overused as well. And yet, if you think about what a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly goes through, if you really have researched what that process is like, the the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and it liquefies itself. Literally, it completely turns into this liquid form and then reforms, rebirth, re-rises into this butterfly. And think about that. That's what we do. You're still the same DNA. You're still the same molecules, just formed and rewired in a different way. So let me start by saying why resilience no longer works, especially where we are in 2026. Resilience actually implies elasticity, like a rubber band. You stretch and then you snap back. You look the same. And that's not what we're looking for. What we are looking for, what the planet is craving right now, is the newness, the rebirthing. And real devastation doesn't work like that. As I said, when a butterfly goes from a caterpillar to a butterfly, it isn't just bouncing back. It doesn't get into the cocoon and say, oh, let me turn into a butterfly. And it looks exactly the same. That's not what's happening. And as I can share with you, and I know many of you have experienced, cancer doesn't work like that. Nope. I am a completely different person than I was 10 years ago before this experience. And another thing that we experience so often is betrayal. Betrayal doesn't work like that. And as all of my feminine and female clients, burnout is that doesn't work like that either. None of that's doing that resilience, bouncing back. And I've experienced this, I'm sure some of you have, especially if you're on social media, being publicly misunderstood or spiritually betrayed or financially wiped out or emotionally gutted. None of that works like this resilience word. You don't just snap back. When you go through these deep experiences that are there to serve you so that you can transform, you shed a skin, right? You're a different person. You lose illusions. You lose the old identity. And my favorite is you always lose tolerance for nonsense. Have you ever noticed as you're going on this path and you're doing this thing called evolving, you're growing, you're expanding, you're evolving who you are. You just don't put up with a lot of crap, especially if you're in those menopause years. Any woman who's been through the fire knows you don't come back stronger, which you do. You come back different. And how beautiful is that? Oh my goodness, I look back at myself 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. She's a different woman. Same body, although it's not the same body because our cells completely regenerate after 24 hours, I believe it is. You are different. And accepting that you're different every single day and you're different than you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or longer. It really breaks this down to resilience feels like something you're supposed to perform for other people. So look at me, I bounced back. Okay, that's great. Once again, we live in this very performative world. I just find it so hilarious to watch some of the things that are on social media. And trust me when I say I'm not diminishing anybody that's doing a dance video out there. I'm not diminishing all of the dancing kids and the dancing animals and people doing crazy things. I saw some guy, the happiness guy on TikTok the other night. He's got all these followers and I guess he's praying for you. I don't know, but he wasn't my cup of tea, but I can tell that he's a lot of people's cup of tea because of the way he presents himself. So we live in a performative world. There's no question about it. The question is, are you performing as that soul essence of who you are, that authentic person? Or are you really just being this performance so that you hope you're getting somebody's attention? Because that really is what resilience is. It's like, look at me. I went through this. Yay. Look how well I handled that. But who cares? The only person that really matters in that scenario is you. How did you become different? So, what if the truth is you don't handle anything? You were handled by it. And what emerged deserves a different word. This whole idea of resilience just feels like power through, I got to the other side. Yay, me. It's like running a race. That's not what life is. So I want to give you some new words to begin to look at how you transform in a different way using the butterfly metaphor, but also this idea of transformation instead of resilience. And one of my favorite words has been forever alchemy. And if you think about alchemy, the idea of it was turning metal into gold. Again, another idea of taking one thing and transforming it. In this case, we call it alchemization. You take that pain that now has changed your entire composition. Because with alchemy, and using it back when it was originated from the idea that they're taking metal and transforming it into gold, it's the same composition, just like the butterfly. It's the same composition. It's a brand new thing, a new experience, a new it. So let's start here with alchemy. Alchemy doesn't mean that things don't hurt. This is the thing is resilience. Because it hurts, we have to get through it. However, if you sit in that change, if you sit in that pain, it doesn't mean that it needs to harden you. That's the problem, is that we've also, there's many people out there that experience these situations in life and then they harden themselves. They put up walls, they put up barriers. Imagine if you were a caterpillar. I don't know what a caterpillar feels like when it's, turning itself into liquid, but imagine it's in the cocoon going, this is not what I signed up for. Who told me that I was going to turn into this magical butterfly, that I was going to go from this crawling bug to being this thing can fly that has the most vibrant colors? What's happening here? What is happening here? I mean, that's some of the conversation that y'all are having. I've had it plenty of times with myself. It's like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? When the truth is, it's always happening for your favor. But here's the thing, alchemy changes your composition. So it's what happens when grief teaches you discernment. When you begin to look at life with that scar, because grief leaves a scar, and scars aren't bad. I could raise my shirt and show you these scars that I got from all those surgeries that I had when I was going through treatment. But it allows you to discern what it is that's important to you in your life. Alchemy is what happens when loss teaches you clarity, because we lose things all the time. Grief is loss. Loss is grief. And we get clear, we get discernment, we make decisions differently. And when we collapse from that grief or that sadness or that pain or that trauma, that's when we learn truth, the truth of who we are. Because what happens with resilience is you just power through it and you come out on the other side and look back, oh, I really got through that. Yay. What is the newness? Who is the new you that comes out of that experience? And alchemy is not a hustle thing. It doesn't allow for hustle. And you can't do it quickly. This is the thing, we live in the instant gratification society, and so everybody's looking for the quick fix. Fix, fix, fix. Alchemy is cellular. If you begin to look at these examples of metal into gold and the caterpillar into the butterfly, it's a cellular transformation. It's changing at the cellular level. And it's the moment you realize I can never unknow what I know now. This is the beauty of wisdom. Wisdom is not intelligence. I I'm thinking I want to create a Mensa type word for wisdom, because wisdom comes from a living, and paying attention and learning. So you can never unknow what you know now when you go through this alchemization. Alchemization is when your nervous system, your boundaries, your voice, and your tolerance are no longer available for your old life. It's a newness. As I said, it's the caterpillar and the butterfly, it's the metal and the gold. You don't want what you wanted before. And this happens, this rewiring, this alchemization, when a woman goes through menopause. So, more on that on another chapter. And here's really an interesting thing that happens when you alchemize whatever experiences, those challenges, those traumas and dramas. You don't chase things the way that you used to, because you get this sense of knowingness, this deepness, this soul connection, and you don't perform the way you were trained to. This is the beautiful part of that, is that women are just stating right now that I'm not listening to that old idea, those old scripts that are so past 223. Alchemy is this voice that says, I didn't just live through this, I metabolized. I metabolized it. So, what are you alchemizing today? It's not resilience, it's an initiation. So, from alchemy to transmutation, this is another fabulous word, transmutation. So, everybody's seen Mutant Ninja Turtles, but here's the thing, how do you transmute that person that you are from devastation to authority? Because what happens when you go through these things, you automatically become an authority on it, right? When you live something, you have experience. You don't need a resume to tell anybody that. You don't need a piece of paper or a license to show anybody that you've been through it. So let's go a little bit deeper on this idea of transmutation. This is where it gets a little bit dangerous in the very best way, because transmutation is not healing for comfort, right? We are always seeking comfort. We're always seeking pleasure, which is fantastic. I get it. We are living a world of duality, but we wouldn't understand pleasure and comfort if we didn't have the opposite. So we have to have the black and the white. We have to have the light and the dark. We have to have the duality. When you are transmuting, this healing that creates authority because you are going through it, you don't just recover. That's the resilience part. Recovering, I got through it, I survived. You actually convert this devastation into discernment, into a new way of being, rising again, rebirthing. And because you go through something that you know other people are going through as well, and now you're the authority, your empathy goes off the chart because you understand from a lived experience what they're going through. And the other thing is you can smell misalignment. When people are not aligned with who they are, their soul alignment, it becomes clear to you because you've already walked that path. You begin to sense when something is off. Your intuition, your energy quotients of observation and connection begin to go off the chart. You don't need words anymore. You're dialed into the energy. And that's not trauma. That's actually transmutation. It's also earned perception. And transmutation, this is what I love about it, is you don't need to explain yourself to anyone anymore at all, because you already know it on a soul level. You don't need to argue with anybody, because your heart already knows, your soul already knows. You don't have to convince anyone. Hey, look at me, I survived. You don't need to audition, because you know. This is why I very rarely share my cancer story. I did it in a book, I've done it in some posts, and yet there is that part of me that knows, that's transmuted this into knowing who this is, what has happened for me, what transmutation has occurred. And I don't need to validate it for anyone. And the validation for me is that I've been through the fire and I absolutely own my own agency. Where on the flip side, resilience people just keep trying to cope with whatever's coming up. In other words, I'm going to steel myself so I let these things bounce off of me. When you transmute and you alchemize, you allow it to come in. You let that fire come in and then are absolutely, completely changed as a result of it. And this is what transmuted people do. They choose, they become their own agency. Now, another word, these are all, if you think about them, they're very chemically based, alchemy and transmutation. And another favorite word is reforged. You've ever seen back in the day the blacksmiths? And they would reforge, they would take steel, they would put it in the fire, they would make horse shoes, or they would make pots or various things. They would melt down, they called it forging or reforging this item, this metal, and create something new from it. So when you are broken down on purpose, you can do that for yourself. You don't have to have an outside experience come and surprise you. You can reforge yourself every single day. It implies something very specific. And you're not gently upgraded. I go out of my way to reforge myself every day. Oh gosh. It is sometimes it feels exhausting, I will say. But it is this idea that you aren't gently upgrading yourself. You are breaking yourself down in ways that say, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And the only way to expand, to grow, is to get out of your comfort zone. So when you strip away your identity, and there's all kinds of activities that I could share with you to do, you can certainly join my tribe. It's so important to understand that you can do this for yourself. You don't have to wait for the trauma and the drama to show up. It involves stripping your identity and shattering all of your illusions and burning down the structures that you have within your life right now, making new choices, and then choose how you are going to be reforged in that process. And you will find as you go through a process like that, you don't fit where you used to. I've tried to go back into where I used to fit, and the clothes do not fit anymore. Anytime I make a choice, make an intention to do something different that I know is in my highest and best, that when I try to go back into the old patterns, I can't fit into them. And I actually find myself running into resistance. I was sharing with somebody recently that I've fallen back into a little bit of the hustle just because I enjoy what I'm doing. But at the same time, there's a lot of things in there that I need to outsource and delegate. And I was exhausted. I was literally exhausted, and I kept going. And what happens when that is for me, which I know that energy, I'm putting it out there because I'm tired. And I don't know, maybe y'all experience this from time to time. It seems like everything that could get in my way gets in my way. I mean, I'm tripping on things, as if it's a one of bewitched or something, and then somebody goes, and then this bucket lands in front of me, or my clothes catch on a doorknob, or people are in my way, or I can't get to where I need to on time because things won't fit anymore. Life doesn't move at the same speed because you've let go of these old modalities. And you will never, once you have reforged yourself, you don't give your energy away casually anymore. It's like, oh, the light bulb just went on again. Oh, I'm doing that again. Oh my gosh, I can't do that anymore because honest to God, the universe doesn't allow it. It's fascinating. Fascinating. And when you rebuild yourself under heat and pressure intentionally, not accidentally, this reforging stops apologizing for anything that you're carrying that other people say, oh, you shouldn't do that. No, that's who I am now. You don't move fast and you don't rush intimacy because those are the qualities of reforging yourself. And one really important thing once you get into that reforging yourself, you don't explain your boundaries. Yes is a complete sentence and no is a complete sentence. You know who you are and you live that way. So, one more word for you to begin to incorporate to replace resilience is tempered. Tempered glass is once again, it's heated to a temperature that it can be manipulated. And it's this quiet power after the fire, and it's fragile, but it's so beautiful and it's so magnificent. And that's why I love about tempered because it's strength that's not loud. You can be quiet. I am naturally a loud person. That's the essence of who I showed up as when I came out of the womb. But tempered strength isn't loud and it isn't reactive. It doesn't explode. It's not as dramatic as alchemization and transmutation, but it's just as powerful. It's so fragile, yet so powerful because it doesn't need to be defensive. It's stable. And steel isn't strong because it never met fire. You can temper steel, you can temper glass. Steel is strong because it met fire and survived the cooling, because it isn't in the firing process that tempering happens. It's in the cooling, it's in the aftermath, it's in the recognition of who you are. So when you've tempered yourself, you don't flinch anymore because you've already been through the fire. You don't chase things, you don't scramble. You pause because you know the power of who you are as this tempered being. And then you begin to let things reveal themselves because you already are in this power position. This feminine power is what tempered is in its truest form. It isn't urgent. It doesn't say if you don't get this done, then the whole world is going to fall apart. It's knowing that everything is working in your favor, no matter what speed you used to go at. This is now the new speed. This is now the new time bending. This is now the new experience of revealing goodness right here and right now in every moment. You don't have to prove, you just become present. And I know that everybody's heard of the Phoenix Rising. And so I just want to add that as one of our words because it is such a beautiful symbolization of where we are today. We have burned things to the ground. In case you haven't noticed, the world seems to be on fire. At least everybody feels like it is. And I believe that this is so beautiful because it's things have to go down to ashes before the phoenix can rise again. And so, phoenixed, I want to use it in that labeling by verbing it and say, I didn't bounce back. I'm not resilient. I phoenixed. Phoenixed, because that is, you have risen with this newness, with these wings, with this beauty. And the phoenix that rose is not who she was. She rises again. She takes flight. Her wings are expanded. She's changed. Those ashes on her wings, memory and authority. And phoenixed women do not want their old life back. That doesn't mean they put it in the past, never to look at it again. It's there as a referral, a reference point. But now, this new life, it matches who they are. And they don't romanticize the fire. Come on, fire's fire. It's nice to look at, but when you go up in flames, Like I said, the moth doesn't get in that cocoon and go, oh no, what is happening? We have to understand that we are alchemized, we are transmuted, we are tempered, we are forged in the fire, just like the phoenix. But don't deny what it has given you. As you rise, phoenix, you are altered. So, as I said, I'm retiring resilience. It's so 2023. And I don't say that resilience is wrong. It's just so incomplete for who we are. Because what you have lived through doesn't just require endurance. How sad is that? Just to endure. Oh, it makes my heart hurt. If you've been trying to call yourself resilient, that's cool. I'm just giving you an upgrade because it just doesn't fit anymore. So, what I'm going to say is you're probably alchemized or transmuted or reforged or tempered or phoenixed. Pick one and hold it up as your own badge of honor. Get rid of that busyness badge and put this one on and say, I am either alchemized, transmuted, reforged, tempered, or phoenix, because you are. You can be all of them. You aren't weak. You have initiated yourself into the authority of that mega soul that you are, that is so unique and so special and so wonderful that we're all waiting to receive you. And if this podcast spoke to you in any way, please share it with a friend. The algorithms love it when you share, and more people can listen to this podcast because this is a revolution. It's a radical responsibility revolution. And when you take responsibility, these are the outcomes. You are magic.